The Enduring Legacy banner features new characters from Genealogy of the Holy War. We have Lex, Annand, Azelle, and Erinys. We'll be talking about their stats, skills, and some build ideas. Lots of very good fodder on this banner. Our first focus unit for this banner will be Lex. You can get him at 4-star or 5-star rarity, and after the banner ends, he's going to be demoted to the 3 to 4-star pool. As usual, this banner has the 40 Summon Spark enabled along with first summon tickets via Forging Bonds. As a unit, Lex is an Axe Cavalier, which means he's going to be our first new summonable 3 to 4-star Axe Cav since Titania in year 1. Man, 2 Axe Cavs in less than a month sure is something. For stats, Lex has 45 HP, 36 attack, 30 speed, 38 defense, and 19 resistance. Very interesting stat line, but don't get too comfortable with it because lots of numbers are going to shift around. Regardless, Lex will have the second highest defense out of all Cavaliers, only behind the god himself. Do so. He also ties for second highest base HP out of all Cavaliers, but 45 HP is still very high, and Lex is only beaten by Erinys, who is sort of doing his own thing. Lex has good attack, 30 speed is pretty workable, but it's in a wonky spot as we will discuss. His res is on the lower side, and unfortunately it's not going to get any better. For old skills, Lex has my favorite skill, Reposition. Always nice to get more reposition fodder in the demoted pool. He also comes with attack and defense push 3, which I think is the first time it's on a low rarity summonable unit, and then he also has Axe Experience. This is a skill that grants 2 times EXP to Axe allies, and honestly, it's not that useful these days. Getting to level 40 is not much of a hassle in Fae anyway, while the 2 times SP Valor skills at least do have some value. Not only is Lex going to be one of the rarest class types to even get demoted, but he has a unique weapon. Goddess Axe is an 11-man weapon, and it grants +5 defense and inflicts -5 speed and resistance. It is a dual phase brave weapon, so Lex will always attack twice. Now this is something, a stronger brave axe that works on both phases, and Lex improves his already great base defense. Unfortunately, not only does he lose -5 speed, but he also loses -5 resistance. Goddess Axe is still a really amazing weapon for a demoted unit, but it does change Lex's stat line quite a bit. 45 HP, 36 attack, 25 speed, 43 defense, and 14 res. Lex is going to be great against physical damage foes, but boy is he going to get deleted fast by magic damage. He's certainly a unit with pretty clear strengths and weaknesses. All in all, I really like Lex as a unit. We did just get Pledgeon Male Chris as a recent Axe Cavalier, but Lex is going to be the first one demoted through the 3 to 4-star pool in a long time. He comes with a very neat, unique weapon and also reposition, which you can never go wrong with. For builds, you can work with attack and defense push 3, but it only really active for one fight. The tier 4 version will be a lot more flexible, but if you're on a budget or just want Lex around for something like Arena Assault, it can be okay. It's not the best pairing, but Lex can also do fine with quicker posts, and he can quad in the enemy phase with it. You can also run death blow skills for the player phase. For the most effectiveness, Goddess Axe is best with skills that work on both phases. Solo skills do just that, and they are commonly paired with low skills for Cavaliers. Attack and defense solo in both slots would be great for Lex, and low attack and defense is the perfect skill for a brave weapon. Lots of extra damage, and all of these skills are active on either phase, you just have to be alone. For your pure player phase budget options, double death blow is super simple. You can even use hit and run if you got nothing else in that B slot. If you want to run a distant counter, Lex can opt for distant foil since he will get shredded by mages. However, he can just use regular DC if you bring Vantage, because the idea of that build is that Lex is just gonna bop these squishy mages in 2 hits first. For C skills, attack or defense smoke work fine, but rouse, attack, and defense or any rouse buff is nice for a solo build. If you really want, Lex could use the Ninja Masakari Brave Axes. I would suggest using Pledgeon Male Chris for a quad build with those weapons, but if you want to mess around with Lex's weird 30 speed, will get bumped up to 34, and you can go further with merges, speed boons, and speed increasing skills. Overall, Lex is a very cool demoted unit, definitely worthy of a +10 merge project if you like him, and you can certainly just stack tons of attack and defense if you want. Next up is Annand. She's a sword flyer with 37 HP, 35 attack, 39 speed, 27 defense, and 34 resistance. She has an HP super boon if you want a little more bulk, but generally most players would probably still prefer plus attack or plus speed. Annand does have the common Pegasus Knight style line with lots of speed and res with lower defense. It's similar to Sheeta, but Annand comes with a lot more base attack to work with. For old skills, Annand has Moonblaster Special, nothing wrong with that. She then comes with Sturdy Impact and Guard Bearing, quite the pair of defensive skills for a flyer, so you can't underestimate Annand when fighting her. Annand will come with a new inheritable sword, the Unbound Blade Plus. This is a 14-man weapon that is basically the sword version of last year's pirate weapons. If a unit is not adjacent to an ally, inflict -5 attack and defense on the foe and neutralize their attack and defense field buffs during combat. Lots of praise for the pirate weapons last year. These are really good for solo type playstyles, and you can easily run double solo skills with them. The attack debuff and neutralization is very powerful because it basically covers both physical and magical damage types. It's going to be a bit hard to get this weapon for other units since Annand is a 5-star only unit, but at least it's in the permanent pool and you can spark her if you really want it for someone. In terms of builds and playstyles, we have seen the sturdy impact and guard bearing combo before on Summer Ingrid. It's an interesting build with a good amount of tankiness. You initiate combat with plus 10 defense and fallout prevention, then on the enemy phase you reduce the first attack by 50%. With Unbound Blade, Annand actually gets even tankier with that -5 attack debuff, and it works on both phases. Very neat build that can just run a solo Sacred Seal like attack and speed solo, and you got quite the brawler. Only bad thing is that Unbound Blade and solo skills aren't great with flyer mobility skills since those mainly involve being next to an ally. To fill in the C slot, you can go with Speed Smoke or Attack Smoke for your budget options, but if you can, obviously the Rain C skills are just too good. With something like Attack and Speed Rain combined with the Unbound Blade, that's already -9 attack, which is just pretty nasty. For some other options, you could drop the Impact skill for an attack and defense solo skill. That way you get more stats for both phases. You could also run Desperation with more speed increase skills if you aren't a fan of guard bearing. If you want to go for super high investment, merges, summoner support, and whatnot, Annand could use Pegasus Flight. Her speed is in a good spot, but you may need more resistance, and reminded that Pegasus Flight compares stats before combat, so you need flat res from things like Fortress Defense and Res 3, where res refined weapons and buffs. Pegasus Knight inflicts attack and defense debuffs, which would stack with Unbound Blade, so it's an interesting idea. In general, Annand's a pretty interesting flyer with a lot more bulkiness in her skills. If you wanted to pass along Sturdy Impact and Guard Bearing 3, you actually can get both since Sturdy Impact only needs Sturdy Blow 2 as a prerequisite. You could even get Unbound Blade and Sturdy Impact together if you don't care about Guard Bearing. Our third unit is Azelle. If you couldn't tell, he's a red infantry mage with 41 HP, 37 attack, 39 speed, 26 defense, and 23 resistance. Not super glass cannon, but very respectable offensive stats, and okay defense and magical bulk. Red mages are generally not fast, so Azelle ties for second fastest in that class, and 37 base attack is perfectly fine. For ult skills, Azelle comes with amazing stuff. He has Rally Up Speed Plus, along with Speed and Res Ruse for the powerful support combo. If the AoE speed buff wasn't enough, he also has Joint Hone Speed as well. For his unique weapon, Azelle has the Sparking Tome. This is a 14 might tome that grants +3 flat speed. That gets Azelle up to 42 speed naturally. At the start of combat, if the foe has more than 50% HP, inflict -6 speed and res, and inflict additional speed and res debuffs equal to the current bonus on each of the foe's stats times 2. Alright, so in its basic form, Sparking Tome inflicts -6 speed and -6 res on healthy foes. Very simple. However, it also has the in-combat panic type effect that Legion's Sneering Axe had. Basically, if the foe has speed or res, field buff Sparking Tome will inflict double the amount in debuffs, which is going to cancel out the buff and make the enemy lose stats instead. This means Azelle can absolutely mess up units if they have the wrong type of buffs on, and he's going to be very fast and deal a lot of damage. This is an offensive tome, and be aware that it does not neutralize buffs, so if the enemy is a Blade Tome mage, they're still going to get their extra attack, even if Sparking Tome applies massive speed and res debuffs. Azelle will also have a new inheritable skill, Red Duel Infantry 4, grants +5 HP and +2 to attack, speed, defense, and resistance. If unit is a 5-star level 40 mythic hero or legendary hero with base stat totals less than 175, then you treat the unit's BST as 175 for arena scoring purposes. If the user is a non-legendary or mythic hero with less than 180 BST, then treat their BST as 180 for arena scoring. Really surprised it's taken this long for these tier 4 dual skills to arrive, but they're here now and they come with a staggering +2 to all stats as a bonus. If you're not familiar, dual skills are purely to improve arena score. They do not boost your actual base stat totals besides the +5 HP, and now the tier 4 versions give +2 to all other stats. There are some limitations for legendary or mythic heroes. They get a smaller BST boost because the newer legendaries already have this dual type effect built in as part of their pair mechanic. This way, the whales still need to roll for those new legendary heroes if they want the biggest BST boost. Speaking of whales, arena score is a slippery slope. Thanks to the way arena scoring works, units with higher BST just score better, so with stat power creep, newer units naturally score higher. If you want to quote unquote patch up the lower BST of your old units or unit types with lower BST values like ranged units, then these skills are for you. These go really well on support units like dancers, since the +5 HP generally isn't that helpful compared to a stronger A skill. However, it can help with panic ploy or infantry pulse type skills. The extra +2 to all stats does make it a little less painful. It's almost like running Fury. To be honest, with some of the more powerful sacred skills in the game, like attack and speed solo, it does make running a tier 4 duel skill not a terrible option. If it wasn't obvious, Azelle is literally made to score very high in arena modes. Rally up speed plus the tier 4 duel skill and joint hold speed are all high SP skills, and you have the obvious BST boost for scoring purposes. With speed and res ruse, Azelle can buff his team and debuff enemies, so you can just add another support sacred skill like Distant Guard. Gonna want that 500 SP special as well, because why not? Like I mentioned, with seals like attack and speed solo, Azelle can honestly get away with the dual skills plus 5 HP and plus 2 to all other stats. His Sparking Tome also provides a ton of speed and res debuffs, so he's gonna hurt a lot, and he gets a little extra defensive bulk. If you want a real offensive A skill, Azelle would be a very strong mage with Swift Sparrow type skills. Obviously, Desperation works great with his high attack and speed, and you got other skills like Flashing Blade or Brazen Attack and Speed. You could use things like No Follow-Up, Special Spiral, or Times Pulse. If you want to keep the dual skill, the plus 5 HP can help out Infantry Pulse teams, but the lower SP may hurt. I mean, honestly, unless you go for lots of merges, your score is not going to be at max anyway. Besides the very obvious arena scoring kit, Azelle is a very much an offensive mage at its core. Speed and res debuffs are summoned to attack and speed increases, and Azelle is going to punish units that try to use speed and res field buffs to keep up with him. Last up is Erinys. She's a Lance Flyer with 39 HP, 37 attack, 41 speed, 32 defense, and 23 resistance. Very impressive stat line. Erinys is the second Lance Flyer, but she has a fantastic base attack to go with it, super boons in both stats as well. She then has the typical low 30s defense and low 20 res stat you see on super offensive oriented units. Pretty much a Swordmaster type stat line, and even with all the fast Lance Flyers in the game, Erinys easily makes a strong case for herself. For all the skills, she comes with Harsh Command Plus to get rid of status effects and reverse debuffs on allies. She then has Chill Attack and Speed 2 and Attack and Defense Rain, which is a great in-combat debuff. For her unique weapon, Erinys has the Celeste Frost. This is a 16-mite lance that grants plus 3 attack, bringing her up to a nice 56 total attack. At the start of combat, if foe's HP is greater than 50%, grants plus 6 attack and speed during combat, and if Erinys is within 2 spaces of her support partner, and if she's initiating combat, she gets to attack twice like a brave weapon. This is a very powerful, high damage weapon, incredibly easy plus 6 attack and speed boost, and Erinys has a similar ability to the White Wings Triangle attack. Instead of needing 2 nearby flyer allies, Erinys only needs her support partner, so she won't be forced to run a team with mainly flying units. However, because support mechanics do not work for the enemy AI, Celeste Frost won't be at full power on a defense team. Still, only needing one ally to proc her brave attacks is pretty easy to achieve, and Erinys is going to be doing a ton of damage with a high chance at quad attacking since she already breaks 40 speed. This weapon basically adds 25 attack on its own, so she may not even need 3 or 4 hits to finish the job. Without the brave attacks, Celeste Frost will still be a potent weapon, but if you really need some insane damage output, you're going to want to pair Erinys up with another ally. Next, Erinys comes with the Blue Dual Flying 4 A skill. It's just like Red Dual Infantry 4, this is the exact same skill except only inheritable by blue flying units. Not much else to say, like Azelle, Erinys is primarily an offensive unit, so she'd probably be better off with another A skill. However, for those using Legendary Azure or Peony, this is the upgrade to their tier 3 dual skills. I believe it only has 1 BST bin worth the points, but I guess that's enough considering you see Azura way too much every time water season rolls around. In a sense, Erinys and Azelle are very similar types of units. They both have weapons that basically add plus 6 damage and plus 6 speed with some extra abilities depending on the situation. They both come with stat lines that can at least make the plus 5 HP and plus 2 to all other stats decent enough to use with their dual skills. With the Sacred Seal slot, you just add in Swift Sparrow, Attack and Speed Solo, or even Life and Death 3 if you want flat stats. The minus 5 defense and res penalty is slightly negated by the plus 2 defense and res thanks to the Duel's 4 skill. Additionally, flyers have those rain sea skills for extra combative stats. Of course, Erinys can be a lot more destructive with things like Swift Sparrow 3 and Desperation builds. With the potential for brave attacks, Erinys could be a Dive Bomb user if you can somehow get that skill. Just remember, Dive Bomb requires both the user and the enemy to be near full health, so for longer PvE battles where you need to take a hit or two, it may just be easier to run Desperation. Erinys can also copy Pirate to Barnes Heavy Blade 4 and Dive Bomb build because again her weapon literally adds 25 extra attack on its own. The rain skills lower enemies attacks and you still got an open circuit seal for more attack increasing skills as well. For C skills there isn't really anything wrong with attack and defense rain, but maybe you would prefer speed and defense rain to ensure you outspeed the enemy. Flyers can also use Odd Tempest 3 for 3 movement, and I would only bring it up because Legend Dimitri may top A for the A Hero Rises event. If you feel Erinys has enough damage, she has great synergy with flyer mobility skills like Flyer Formation or Aerobatics. These allow her to warp to her allies, and if it's her support partner, then that means she's going to get her brave attacks when initiating. Imagine pairing Erinys with Lilith, who can literally warp to her from anywhere on the map. All in all, Erinys is quite the scary unit. She can dish out a ton of damage without her second part of her weapon, although her A skill and B skill may need some replacing. Funnily enough, Erinys is incredibly similar to Duel Paula. Duel Paula naturally has that dual effect. It's actually 185 BST compared to 180, and she has a dual skill to move 3 spaces. Her triangle attack does require more setup, but she also has built-in follow-ups on her weapon which can help bypass follow-up preventing skills. Erinys may have a huge speed advantage, but if the enemy has any wary fighter type skills, she's going to be stopped at 1 hit. That's going to be it for this banner breakdown. Lots of powerful skills on this banner, and we've started the march on those tier 4 dual skills as well. If you can't get Erinys, don't despair, because we have another free Lance Flyer coming up. The Horrible will be the next Grand Hero battle, and while we have reward Lance Flyers all over the place, she does bring some interesting things to the table. We'll be talking about her next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.